Things are getting juicy.
Hey, what's going on, Scatterbrains? Thank y'all for coming back to another episode of Brilliancy. My name is Travis, and I was like, oh, I gotta go do this review right now. I started watching last week's episode, and my plan was to watch it tomorrow, and that way I could do a review for both last week's episode and this week since I missed last week's review. But after the end of this last episode, I'm like, oh no, I gotta go do my review now. All right, so thank you for coming back to another episode of Scatterbrains. My name is Travis, and tonight I'm here to review Married at First Sight, Season 9, Episode 7. Y'all, the last 5 minutes of this episode has me so confused. I am so lost about what I just watched. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to just yellow brick road walk our way through through Kyrus and Degory. Because their sections don't really matter at this point. We got to get to Mamber and Jezebel because we'll get there. Let's stay focused. All right, so let's start with Kyrus. So early on in the episode, we learned that Keith's grandmother was not doing well. She has cancer. I don't know if it was told to us at any other episode that she has cancer, but at this point in the time that this was recorded, she's not doing well. So he's going to go visit her, and he invites Iris to come along, which is, a good thing. She also states that somebody invited them to church, so they were going to go. Just a couple of notes that I have for them. They prayed. She prayed for them before they went to bed, and I thought that that was an excellent thing. Carmen and I do that every night, and I think that's such an important thing for couples to do. I think it's important to pray when you get up. I think it's important to pray before you go to bed and pray throughout the day too. But I just like the fact that they showed us that in this episode. Something else that I'm appreciative of when it comes to this episode is that they did not exploit the situation with Keith's grandmother. I was very happy. Kyrus went with him to visit the grandmother, but they never showed us anything with the family. And I was really happy about that because with these reality TV shows, sometimes they can see an opportunity like that and run with it. And it's just really in bad taste. So I'm really happy that they did not do that, that they respected the family's privacy. And I don't know if that was something that they just did on their own or if it was a request of Keith. Either way, I'm glad they did not show that because I just think that this moment seemed to be something that was just a little more private and not something for us to be to see. But Iris did record, I guess maybe on her phone on one of the given cameras, how she was doing being there for his family, and she got emotional, but she just said, she's trying to be there for her husband. And I think that's important because, for Keith, his grandparents mean a lot to him. So, she's just trying to be the best wife that she can be. So I just thought all of that was just really, really good for Kyrus. During this episode, everybody either had a visit with friends or they had a visit with family. So that'll just be something that we talk about, from each couple to couple. For Kyrus, they had friends, and I think her mom had come over. And nothing really much. Iris's mom mentioned that she had been in touch with Keith's mom, because I'm going to assume this is his maternal grandmother who's going through these issues. But she mentioned that she had been in touch with her and, that she can be there for them for whatever they need. And I thought that was really good that the mothers were in touch and are starting to build their relationship as well, because I think it's also important not just for the spouses to have a relationship and to have a relationship with the opposite families, but that the families have a relationship as well. So I was happy to see that. The big thing that happened with Kyrus is that when they had their friends over, Iris had in her mind that they had bought certain things for the friends. It seemed more like it was Iris's girl friends and Keith's guy friends that came over. Iris got upset because the guy friends went in their fridge and got lemonade out. Keith didn't really think it was that big of a deal, but Iris did. For Keith, that is what his friends, that is their rapport with each other. That is what they're able to do. They're able to go to each other's house, go in the fridge. So on one hand, I understand that for Keith, that's his norm, but I also understand Iris's side, and I think I probably side more with her because yes, I can understand that that is your norm. That's what your friends are used to doing, but you got to understand that's what your friends are used to doing in your space. This is not your space. This is our space. So it's important to set those boundaries, even with friends, so that everybody understands that this is a place that has to be respected because it's now two people, and it's not just me by myself anymore. So it'll be more so on Keith to address his friends about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable behavior the next time they come over. So he blew it off pretty much, but he said that he thinks she's only reacting like that because she's an only child and she's not used to having to share anything, which I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think it's just about respect. Moving on to DeGory. Greg is still trying to build a relationship with the dog, and we'll come back to the dog later. She buys him a birthday cookie, cake thingy, and it's his birthday leading up. So their friend gathering is for his birthday, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But Deanna does mention that her dog is fickle, and she says if you ignore her, she'll like you more. And I think she might have said, does that remind you of anyone? And I was like, you. It reminds me of you, because as you were talking, it made me think she was talking about herself. But she says that she now can say that she really likes her husband, and that is a big deal, because what Deanna is trying to do differently now is she's trying to not go down the same path that she was in those 10 years when she wasn't in a relationship. So throughout those 10 years, no, Deanna was not in a relationship. She was in several situationships. And for those who don't know what a situationship is, it's a situational relationship, meaning that there's supposed to be an understanding that of what we're getting from each other out of this. Pretty much it's a booty call relationship. You know, sex is pretty much the main thing that you get out of it, and it's not necessarily, we don't have ties to each other. You know, we don't have a title. I'll come over, you come over, we do what we got to do. Ain't no spending the night type thing. That's what, you know, most situationships that I'm aware of are. So that is what she had over all these years. But her mistake is that she'd always catch feelings. And the number one rule for a situationship is don't catch feelings. And she did that. So she's trying to do things differently. She's trying to make sure that this marriage is not based off sex, because obviously they have not had intercourse yet. So she wants to make sure that she establishes a firmer foundation for them before she goes there with him, which totally makes sense to me. But she does tell him that she is sexually attracted to him, and he's really excited to hear that, and he is dead set on making sure that they do the thing that night. But watching him talk to her about it, it just made me uncomfortable, because he was very like, oh, you're sexually attracted to him. And his laughs, as my wife said, seem kind of forced sometimes. So I was like that's, you know, but anyway. So their friends come over, they grill them, ask them, are they sleeping in the same bed? Are they cuddling? That kind of thing. Not much happened regarding their friend visit. And at some point or another, he mentioned that because he's Nigerian, he wants 8 kids. And good luck with that, Deanna. All right. Oh, and so the dog. There was a shot of the dog towards the end of their little thing, and the dog just looks... Susan, is that the dog's name? Susan, Susie, whatever. The dog looks uncomfortable, stressed, if you will. Like, the dog just looked like... like, the dog looked like one of the pets that be on the commercials for the, you know, 69 cent a day Arms of an Angel type commercials. The dog just looked concerned. All right, now let's move on to the two couples who, you know, were really trying to bring it to us at the last 5 minutes of the episode, which, you know, we'll discuss it in a second. So we'll start off with Mamber, because I think their situation was just a little more weird. So during this episode, they go to meet with her aunt, they go to Sunday dinner at her aunt's house. That's something that I think she says she does every other Sunday. And on the way up there, they talk about movies that they like, and she talked about how obsessed she was with love and basketball. But one thing he said that really concerned her was the fact that he said he didn't think he wanted kids for another 5 to 8 years. And his biggest reason is he's scared of being connected to the child's parent forever. He's scared of that bond that you get when you have a child with someone. But at the same time, I'm like, but you signed a marriage license, and is that not a bond? I guess people look at it as, well, I can get divorced and, you know, I don't have to really worry about the other person anymore, but you're still tied to them forever. Once you get married, you are no longer ever single, to be truthfully honest. After you're married, you are never single again. You are divorced. Okay? There's no more single. So his excuse is lame, in my opinion, to say that that's your reason for not wanting to have children. It's like, well, then you make sure that you have a child with somebody who you see a future with. People just, whatever. So that was his thing. She gets up to her aunt's house, and she gets to talk to her twin. And it was really hard for me to keep up with them because throughout the whole time, it was just like,
they were talking like this, and they were talking about all things that happened in the marriage and how it's been going and how he's been acting, and the twin was talking about how it was with her and her significant other. I wasn't really sure if she was talking about her husband or boyfriend, but I was just like, oh my gosh, y'all are talking so fast that I can't really keep up.
I was just like, if y'all don't slow it down, because I'm having a hard time keeping up what y'all are talking about. But one of the issues that she had from last week, which the episode, I said I ain't reviewing at this point, was that she didn't like the fact that he put his stuff in a separate bathroom, but the wives and the husbands met up earlier in the episode, but they got her to understand that it's not that big of a deal. It's just more, he's just respecting your space, and it's not really something you should be tripping off of. So that was cool. So at the end of the episode, after Jezebel, which we'll do last, we circle back around to Mamber, right? And so we get a camera that like a security type looking camera, an apartment camera. And I'm like, why is there an apartment camera? I guess maybe this was stated last week because they've moved into mutual places. From the show has given them a mutual place to live in as opposed to living in their separate spaces like previous seasons. So we're getting a view of this security type looking thing with timestamps. So he was last seen in the apartment, I think at like 1-something p.m. So then we fast forward to that evening and she comes home. She does her yoga squat things around the island. And he does not come home based off when this episode ends. So she calls him like 4 times. I guess she leaves some messages. He doesn't respond. Eventually his phone starts going to voicemail. And she is worried. She is stressed. She starts freaking out. She calls her dad talking about, I don't know why I like him. I just want to hear from him. I just want to hear from him. This is making her feel like he doesn't care about her. Now, on one end, I totally get where she's coming from because for me, if I'm out, well, not even if I'm out, my wife will know where I am. That's period. Your spouse should always know where you are, especially in the booty call hours of the night. Your spouse should know where you are. So why Matt didn't say, hey, well, I guess he told her that he was going to be with his friend. But your phone dying really, it should not be a thing because for me, if my phone dies, I would know my wife's number by heart because of the amount of years we've been together. So maybe he hasn't memorized it, but he should at least send his wife a text saying, hey, my phone is about to die or my phone died. Here is Devin or whoever's number. If you need to get in touch with me, you can, call me through here just to check in. That's what he should have done, but he didn't. So because he didn't, Amber is now like freaking out and it's confusing me. Okay, I'm gonna come back to it later. I gotta get to Jezebel first. And then I'm gonna talk about them both at the same time about why I'm so confused about all of this. So she's just going off on the deep end, talking to her dad, because I guess she's just so worried. Okay, so now we're gonna flip over to Jezebel. At the beginning of the episode, they have a conversation about a glitter alert. So what is a glitter alert, you may ask? A glitter alert means that you have to go take a dookie. And she likes to say glitter alert as opposed to saying, I gotta go bush. I gotta go take a dump. I gotta go do a number 2. And I'm like, this is not Trolls and you are not Guy Diamond. Why are you calling it a glitter alert? You know what I mean? It just seems stupid to me. But he says that he likes the fact that she's weird, but she did tell him that it's not really related to what I'm saying, but she told him that he's required to get her flowers like 2 or 3 times a month. So their parents are the ones who come over for their family gathering. Everything is cool. They talk about the fact that they consummated the marriage. Her mom brings that up, which is weird. I mean, they just, their family is different. But they start asking questions about her job. So she works for her dad, and they bring it up later because it's not really clear what she does. We know that she works for her dad, but as far as what she does for her dad is the part that's really confusing. So they ask her, besides the job, they ask her a whole lot of questions about, does she want children? And it makes her feel overwhelmed, but they've already stated that they don't want any kids, but it's something they may revisit, 2 to 3 years from now. But her mom asks both of them if that day was decision day and you had to make your choice, what would your choice be? And they both said they would stay together. Okay? So that day they said if they had to choose, they would choose to stay together because of how great everything is. And mind you, Elizabeth has told us on more than one occasion how great the sex is between them two. Okay? Yeah, is anybody else seeing where I'm going with all of this? So then later they discuss how the visit went, and she starts to ask him questions about his parents, because I guess the people that were there was his dad and his stepmom. So his dad and his stepmom have been married, I think he said, for about 9 years, and his parents have been divorced for about 10. So she starts to ask him more questions about it, and he's getting uncomfortable, and he's trying not to answer, but she's asking more questions, which makes him uncomfortable and makes him very defensive. So then he starts asking her questions about what exactly does she do for her dad, which leads into the conversation of her almost being a little bit entitled and not really, how can I say this? Not really working hard, I guess you can say, because he feels like she just took a handout from her dad, and she's not ashamed of the fact that she took a handout from her dad. She said she's had interviews and she turns them down, but she thought working for her dad would be a good opportunity. But it's making him feel away. So what happened is the fact that she asked him all these questions about his parents, caused him to put a wall up. So then he starts asking her all these questions about her job, I guess to get her off of him, but it seemed a little tit for tat. But yeah, so it got heated, and they left it right there. So we joined them later in the evening. He sits her down. He says that he doesn't want to exist with her. He wants to get to know her. And he talks about how she jokes about the way he feels about her. So apparently Elizabeth says things like, I know you're going to leave me. I know you're one day going to da-da-da-da. And he's trying to get her to understand that that's not how I feel. And I don't like when you joke like that because it makes me uncomfortable. And then she flips the switch and she starts going off talking about how her anxiety is high and how he's ruining their evenings because of these conversations, and he turns them into a therapy session and all of this kind of stuff. And she doesn't know what he wants from her. She wants him to stop bringing her down. It made me think of that Family Guy. Never mind. She wants him to stop bringing her down. She feels beaten down about her emotions. And she asks him, are you tired of this? And she's just going off on him. And then it seemed that Elizabeth had been holding a lot of things in and putting up a front for the camera and for her family. And she used this moment to let it all out, which was mistake number one. But then she hits him with the fact that he doesn't romance her. He just bought her flowers for the first time. He doesn't initiate anything. She says he only does basic Caucasian sex. And I was just like, what is that? Missionary, according to her. He does basic Caucasian sex. Me and my wife were sitting there looking at this like, what is going on? We are so lost because this whole time y'all making it seem like, especially you, Elizabeth, making it seem like this relationship is so great. And then you're using this opportunity to blast him on national TV about the basic sex that he's getting. But all along you were talking about how the sex was just getting better and better. So it's like, how is it getting better and better? Are y'all just doing missionary in the bed? Did y'all do missionary on the floor? Like in the bathroom floor, in the tub? Like what? If it's basic, how is basic getting better? That's the part that doesn't make sense to me. So then she calls him sensitive. He gets his cat and he leaves. So I am confused about what exactly happened with Mamber and Jezebel. Like, is there something that we missed? Are they just both putting up fronts for the camera? More so on the Jezebel side, because Mamber isn't necessarily coming off as inauthentic as Elizabeth is at this point. But I was just like so lost at how it was just like, it just jumped to this. And you're going off. The fact that she told that man he gives her basic Caucasian sex, as if there's another kind of sex he's supposed to give. Is he supposed to give exotic African American? Is he supposed to give like off the wall Hispanic sex? Like what is your expectation? Because you are Caucasian as well from my viewpoint. So like, are y'all supposed to be doing acrobatics? Is it, granted, it's nasty for me to think about, but what is it that you want from this man? And the fact that she even said that on camera is just like very disrespectful. So at this point, I don't think they're gonna make it. Just because to me that was a shot at his ego. And the fact that she took it on camera makes it even worse, because they've been filming long enough, like 15 days, to know if you say something when you mic'd up, when you got the cameras there, it's because you want the world to see it. It's just simple as that. Because if that was a conversation that she really wanted to have off camera, she could have that conversation off camera if she wanted to, because they don't film with them 24 hours a day. So y'all tell me what y'all thought of the last 5 minutes of tonight's episode, because I was thoroughly entertained and confused. So now we stepping it up. I was gonna watch last week, but I ain't gonna worry about it now, because clearly the meat and potatoes was tonight. Whoo, boy, the way she was going off on him, I just was like, why are you talking to this man like this? Like, you are being very disrespectful. Y'all let me know what y'all thought. Basic Caucasian sex. She says, wham, bam, and you're done. And that was pretty much like calling him a minute man, too. It's very disrespectful. But y'all let me know what y'all thought about tonight's episode. And I will be talking to y'all later. Make sure you remember to rate, comment, subscribe if you have not already. And I'll see y'all later. Peace.